Welcome to Josh's Cemetery Chats. What's up, Bearheart Nation? How's it going out there? So today I want to talk briefly about something that's been kind of getting to me lately. I've been thinking a lot about it, and that's what makes a legend. So I've got a Legend and Tales video that's going to be covering 3 stories. It's coming out in a couple of days, depending on when you're watching this. It might already be out. If it is, I'll link it in the video here. But the 3 stories that I researched, 2 of them were pretty well-known legends, had some good history behind them, and were pretty well documented. And one of them was something that nobody's really, it's not a legend, it's a tale, and it's a story that I found from a newspaper from the early 1900s where a young man was found shot on a barge in the Ohio River. And it got me thinking, like, why wouldn't that be a legend? Why is it that some of these things, even the ones with no history in them at all, wind up becoming legends, but stories, true stories of people, don't become legends? So I think some of this just goes back to the human psychology in it and the attachment to stories. And some of them, I think, it seems to me at least, that some of the legends that are started by people that heard a story or were close in time to an event that happened, and they tell a friend who tells a friend, and it kind of gets spread and becomes wildfire. Kind of the same way that you see viral videos or memes nowadays on the internet, that they get started and sometimes a meme will take off and just everybody will be spreading it, everybody will see it, everybody's well aware of it. And other times, a meme that might be just as good or even better than the one that went viral never gets seen. And the same thing with videos and things that people share online. There's no rhyme or reason to why some things go viral or why some things are well known as opposed to other things that aren't. When it comes to legends, for instance, from everything I can tell, it doesn't matter if there's true history or something completely made up. Some things just take off and some don't. And it doesn't seem to matter what the case is, who the people involved are, because some of the stories that I've found and uncovered are sad, tragic tales that involve younger people or involve people that you would think would be for good legends. And then other things that I find, even in the legend sphere, don't seem to make sense as far as why they would ever be spread or why they, what would be the point of spreading this story. You can look at something as simple in Ohio as the Crybaby Bridge phenomenon, where every single county, it seems like, has some kind of crybaby bridge, but there's not really any reason for that legend to be spreading like it does. But then you can look at a story like the one I did covering Sarah Alice Laughlin, where it's a sad tale of a young girl that was murdered. Her killer may or may not have been brought to justice, but nobody spread that story, nobody talks about that story at all over the last 150 or so years until I started researching it and went ahead and put a video out on it. There was absolutely no other information out there. I found the occasional historic website that had like the story of what happened because it was a huge event at the time, but I didn't find anything that was a legend. Even though her grave actually says that she was murdered, there was no legend at all there. Conversely, in the same county, in the same local area, if you look at a story like the legend of Andrew Hellman, who's the Hatchet Man, there's not really anything to tell in the cemetery that the people buried there were murdered by this man, but the story spread like wildfire and became well known and something that people use to kind of scare each other in the modern day. And that's what doesn't make any sense to me is how some stories spread like that and some stories don't. And going back to what I said earlier, I think a lot of it has to do with human psychology. I don't want to say the herd mentality, but realistically it's kind of the group thought where we kind of will something to become a legend, and if it's creepy enough, if it hits the right strings, and it gets spread enough, I think those are kind of the things that become the combination. And realistically, at that point, it comes down to somebody deciding to share it. Pre-internet age, it would have been, somebody either making a television show about it or writing a newspaper article, because I found plenty of newspaper articles, especially around Halloween, that want to spread ghost stories, and so they'll share those kind of things out there so that people can kind of get spooked out around that time of year. Modern day, you've got bigger channels on YouTube, for instance, that they could share a story that's never been heard of before, and all of a sudden it spreads like wildfire. Or, because of the nature of the internet, because of the nature of YouTube, you could have a video that you would think nobody would ever see that would go viral and wind up getting spread around to the point of everybody's heard about the thing at that point. So it kind of becomes really weird depending on the time, but to me, at least from what I can tell, there's not really a rhyme or reason as to why some of these stories become legends and why some of them don't, other than the right person sharing it at the right time. Now, I'm not out there trying to make any kind of legends. I'm trying to share the history of Ohio and surrounding states and eventually throughout the country through the videos that I make. But if I was trying to make a legend, if I decided, I want to share something, maybe someday 1 million people will see the Allie Laughlin video and people will be more aware of that history. My concern, as always, is how that's going to translate into the future, as far as if people are going to make a legend out of it, or maybe we're getting past that point, because I've noticed a trend over the past few years, it seems like, where people aren't as into the legends. And I don't know if it's because just the ghost shows that oversaturated the market for such a long time wound up people got burnt out from it. I feel like there's still enough people out there that appreciate the history of the legends, but I feel like the legend part of things where people just kind of believe what they read on the internet is falling off, which is a good thing. That on the one hand, it means that people are not believing everything that they see, but on the other hand, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because I think there's situations where there might be real history out there, something that is important to remember, that people are going to brush off when they read it because they think this is probably just made up. Speaking of reading stories, I want to plug something real quick, because this is something brand new that I just started in the past couple of weeks, and that is, I've got a Legend and Tale section on my website, and that's where I'm going to be putting every story that I cover in written form, and I'm going to be including pictures and newspaper clippings and all the stuff that may or may not be able to be included in the videos will be on that website. So I'll link that down in the description below. You can go check it out if you're interested in reading some of these stories that I've been sharing, because I feel like that's just another avenue. I think it's important for the long term to be sharing these kind of things. One, because as far as I'm concerned, the legend aspect of things, while they can be creepy, I think the legends kind of mislead people and they cause people to distrust, especially in a day and age where everybody is talking about fake news and you can't trust anything on the internet. I think it's important for anybody who can to be a voice of, common sense, be a voice of reason, and sharing things that are true with evidence to back them up, because it balances out that other side of, especially when it comes to the ghost hunting community and that kind of thing. On the one side, you've got the people that will say, look, we've got this legend and there's this ghost out here, and on the other hand, you've got people like me that are saying maybe ghosts exist, maybe they don't, but either way, there's this historical fact of something that happened here. There will be times where, going into Halloween especially, I'll be sharing some more legends without the ones that don't have history behind them, just because it's fun to get spooked out around Halloween. But for the most part, I want to share the history. I want to push that stuff out there, because even the things that didn't get made into legends deserve to be told. The stories like Sarah Alice Laughlin, which are tragic tales where people shouldn't be forgotten. Nobody deserves to be forgotten. I can't share every single story of every single person. I would love to. I sit in cemeteries and I look at headstones and I imagine the lives that these people led. Each and every single person that's buried here has a story that deserves to be told. A lot of them will just be forgotten to time, and 100 years will go by, and 200 years will go by, and somebody like me might be walking around and looking at their names but not having any clue what they were really like and who they were. And so, as much as I can, I want to document that history and that historical element, so that the stories that aren't told as legends are shared, and the stories that are told as legends are shared correctly, because there is a true side of history that I think a lot of people forget about when it comes to things like legends. So before I end the video, I'm going to plug merch real quick. I've got the couple new things in the merch shop that have come out recently, and I've got some new stuff that I'm planning for Halloween, so keep an eye on that. If you're interested in repping Bearheart Nation, we got some really cool merch over in the merch shop. That'll be linked down in the description below. The Patreon is also linked down in the description below. A lot of this stuff I can't do without patrons. I'm not big enough to monetize, so I can't get ad revenue. I don't have any sponsorships or anything like that. So basically, everything that I do is supported by the patrons, and that's why I like to shout them out in every video. I like to make a big deal about it and put the names in the videos and that kind of stuff, just because I appreciate anybody that takes the time to go over there and give me some of their hard-earned money to help support what I do with these videos and the documentaries and that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in supporting me over there, I'll link that down in the description below as well. Put your name in the video if you sign up, lots of cool little perks, so go check that out. Really though, I got nothing else for you. I want to thank you all for watching. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.